You have no life, not everything has to be what you say it has to be. The rock and metal block is here for the rockers and the metalheads. We decide what we want, we decide what we like. The rock and metal block is here.
Yeah, metal rock is here. The metal block is here. The rock and metal block. It used to be called just the metal block, but I changed it to the rock and metal block so I can cover all things rock, everything metal. You know what I'm saying? Maybe a little bit of rap in there. Got some NWA, Public Enemy, the standard, rocker. If you're a rocker and you say I like rap too, those are usually the bands that the rockers go for. The old school stuff, NWA, Wu-Tang Clan, who I saw that earlier this year. I saw in concert, the Wu-Tang Clan concert at the Moda Center. Those guys put on a really damn good show. Jules, Run the Jewels opened up for them with Killer Mike, who I like a lot. I like Killer Mike. Anyway, the reason why I'm having this discussion about CDs, are CDs cool? Are they still? I know vinyl came back and vinyl was cool. Vinyl's still cool. When you're and your friends, like, yeah, you still collect vinyl? What? They still make that stuff? They still make CDs? My God. It's always a discussion, if I, especially at work, I work as an alcohol and drug counselor. And sometimes, when we talk about hobbies and things like that, I say, yeah, my hobby is, collecting vinyl and CD. Oh my God, you must have a nice collection of rare stuff. They don't make that stuff no more. It's like, no, you'd be surprised. There's new bands coming out with vinyl. There's even pop artists are now starting to put all their stuff out on vinyl, like Taylor Swift, like Sabrina Carpenter. So I was reading a thing about vinyl sales. I know we're touching mostly about CDs, and I'll get to that in a second. But just for vinyl, I was looking at vinyl sales for 2025, and they're expecting it to still continue this resurgence. It's been going on since probably 2006, I think, is when vinyl started kind of coming back and getting popular again. But when you got artists like Sam Fender, who I've never heard of, but I guess he's like a, Billboard artist or whatever. His newest release is 56,000 copies of vinyl sold. Taylor Swift, Lover, Life in Paris, 48,000 copies sold. Sabrina Carpenter, I said Sarah Carpenter. Sabrina Carpenter, her album Man's Best Friend, 27,000 copies sold, which is, not a lot, but if you think about it, for being that kind of in a world where these kids that are listening to this music, like the young generation, if you will, the Gen Zs and the Gen Alphas and stuff like that, they're mostly into streaming or downloading and, just watching stuff on TikTok. It's like 30 seconds long, but for there to actually be record sales, I'm kind of glad to see that going on, even if it's not my taste of music. Fountains DC's Romance. I don't know what that is. Or Fontaine's DC's. Is that a band? Fontaine. Then Oasis, Morning Glory, takes 7th place. So those are like the top 7 CDs. But CD sales this year has plunged. That's why I was asking, is our CD still cool? The reason why I'm saying that, or reason why I'm kind of bringing this up too, because I past few weeks I've been on sort of a CD buying binge because I'm usually a vinyl guy. So like I got all these within the past like 2 or 3 weeks or so. I was going to kind of show you what I bought, what's in my collection now. I do got I got probably about 200 CDs, but I got about 700 vinyl, because I started collecting vinyl again back in 2019 when somebody gave me a record player. No, somebody gave me a record, and then I had to go buy a record player to play that record because somebody gave me a Kiss record as a gift or whatever, and it was Kiss Rock and Roll Over. It was one of the original pressings. It might even be worth some money if I were to look it up. I think I tried looking it up on Discogs, and I don't think I have the right I'm not really good at that, going in too deep about what pressings are worth more of this and that, but I kind of think mine would have been if it didn't have one certain thing about it or something. But anyway, but it's Rock and Roll Over Kiss, and I thought, cool, thank you, man. Now I gotta go buy a record player so I can play my Kiss record. And that was in 2019. Then after that, I'm like seeing vinyl on Amazon and how easy it was just to order records on Amazon, so then I ended up with 2 or 3 records after that. I think I bought Abath, his first album, and then I think a Miracle album. I think it was like her second album, which I love. But after that, it just kind of snowballed into like this. Now I got this huge collection. Then I became addicted to where I'm just like, every time I got paid, I'd buy 2 or 3 vinyls on Amazon. But then I started going to the record store, Second Avenue Records, and it's like an old dingy record store with everything in it, all different types of music, but it's got a really killer metal section. And so, just an matter of fact, I was just there this last weekend, Friday, for Black Friday Record Store Day, and I kind of got there a little late, so all the stuff I was kind of looking for, like that Doors live album, I was going to get that, but I didn't want to pay $50 for it. But some of the other stuff I wanted to get, they were out. But I did end up with a Voivod Lost in Space, or Lost, what was it called? I'm looking at it over there. Lost Space or something like that. The live album, which is actually really good. And then I got what did I get? Oh, Ghost Skeleton, another version, which I have like a lot of versions, but I just bought the picture disc because I thought, let me keep it sealed. You never know, it might be worth some money one day or something. But anyway, so now I'm up to about 700 or 800 pieces of vinyl, maybe 900. Let's see, I got 1,100. And last time I checked on my Discogs catalog, I have 1,108 things of vinyls and CDs and cassettes. So I'm thinking somewhere around 800 of that is probably, maybe 750 to 800 is vinyl. But what do you guys out there think? Are you a CD guy or girl? Are you a vinyl guy or girl? Dog, cat, whatever. What is your what's your thing? And so why are CDs better than vinyl? Why is vinyl better than CDs? I'm liking CDs a little bit more these days. For one, I'm running out of space for my vinyl, and then second, I hooked up my speakers that I normally use for my recording music. I forgot what brand. I'm not good with brands and stuff, but they're like the professional recording studio speakers. So I hooked them up to my CD player, which used to be a record player / CD player / cassette player, but the record player broke because the needle arm broke or whatever on it. And so I just used the CD player on it, which is actually really good. It's one of those, you get on Amazon, it looks like a vintage record player with like the old school looking front, looks like a front of a old Chevy car or something like that. But the CD player works really good, and so does the cassette. But although I'm not really a fan of the cassette player because you just pop into the cassette and there's no like play or stop button. You just got to let it play no matter where it's at. You can't rewind it or nothing. So plus I don't trust it. What if it eats my tapes or something, But I use a CD player, so I hooked up my speakers to that, and it sounds so good. It's like, so it sounds phenomenal. So now I'm just jamming CDs. So I went on this little CD buying binge, on Amazon, because they're cheaper for one, $15-20 a piece, and then I even bought some of the vinyl or CDs that I have already on vinyl, like Creatures of the Night, the 40th, and things like that, because it's kind of cool. Just maybe I don't want to break out the record and have to flip it. Maybe I just want to chill on the bed, read a magazine. Let's see what I just get recently. Let me show you this. Got this recently, so I'm kicking back on the bed on a Sunday, reading this, and put on a CD, like a Kiss CD or something, and just let it play. But yeah, so let me show you what I got so far, and drop in the comments. Tell me what your preference is. CD? Are you still streaming music? One of the reasons why I like vinyl and CD, and the reason why I fell in love with music again, is because when I rediscovered collecting vinyl, it brought back something that I was missing. Because I did get into, like, when I first moved here to Portland from LA, because I was homeless and everything. My addiction took the best of me, and so I ended up homeless and everything. Some of you know my story. But I had to leave everything behind. A lot of my collection, my records and things like that, I had to leave all that behind. So I had to start fresh up here. But from 2011 till 2019, I didn't really have a collection of anything. I was just streaming music on Apple or whatever. I think it was iTunes at the time, or Spotify or whatever. So I would just stream, and it was cool. And I would even buy like albums on Apple, download them. I'd pay like the $10 or whatever and just have the actual album itself. But I was just missing something, But like I said, when I got that Kiss record and was able to put it on the turntable and just look at the artwork, and I fell back in love with it. I said, look, this is what I've been missing this whole time. So then I started getting CDs again, and actually, before I had my vinyl, started getting back into vinyl, I did have a little bit of batch of CDs that I had just bought, but I didn't really even have a CD player. I was just mostly streaming music. I had a CD Walkman that I would take with me, but that was kind of a hassle having to use because it kept skipping and everything. So I had about maybe 10 or 15 CDs before I got back into vinyl. But again, I was just missing that element of just like being able to like hold something in your hand and own it. Because the thing about when you stream music, think about this. If you ever wonder why some artists like all of their catalogs not on streaming, like I've heard this all the time when people are like look up Wasp, they're like, how come all of their albums aren't on there? How come all of Kiss's albums aren't on there? It's well, because there's certain records at the record label, either there's some kind of publishing thing going on where like they just not allowed to post, or they didn't get the licensing, or they, there's some, maybe there's even a few. Look at like Badlands. I mean, the Jakey Lee's band. I don't think they're streaming, but you'll never see those vinyl coming out because of the legal stuff going on. So if you owned the Badlands from back in the day, I finally got it on cassette, their first album. I got it off Discogs for a decent price for like, $20 or something. But yeah, that's what happened. So when there's like stuff going on legal wise with the labels and the artists, that stuff gets taken down. But if you own the record, if you own the CD, no one can take that shit away from you, So so I encourage everyone to get out there and buy the physical copy of your music, and stream when you're out and about. Obviously, you can't take your record player or CD player with you, on the bus or in your car. Well, I guess in your car you can for CDs, but yeah, it's just I was missing that element of being able to hold it in my hands and be able to own it, So that's what got me really back into it. So yeah, so what is your preference? CDs, vinyl, cassettes? Even I've been getting into cassettes lately. I mean, I got a pretty nice little cassette collection. I used to hate cassettes because, you always have to risk it getting eaten. And then, obviously you play it too much times, it gets faded sounding. But some of the cassettes have been being released lately, especially the newer ones by bands that put out new albums. And then they'll put out like a cassette just for nostalgic reasons. The quality is actually really good. I was really impressed with the quality. And so every now and then I like to pop on a cassette and just let it play. But yeah, let me just go through this. So I got Castle Rat, their new album, which is really freaking good. This band took me a little while to get into, but this album is what got me into them more. And I started looking up their stuff on YouTube. And I sucks. I missed them in concert when they came last month. So I didn't even know they were playing here, and I would have loved to have seen them live, but because they put on a really good show. Castle Rat, they're kind of like I like to say they're sci-fi mixed with like medieval stuff. I don't know. They got a really cool storyline going. I could see this band doing really big business next year or the year after, doing stuff like how Ghost is a band that you don't really hear about, but everyone asks like, have you heard of Ghost? They're like, no, but yet they're one of the biggest touring bands in the world. And I'll ask people who are into rock and metal, like at work or whatever, and it's like, no, I never heard of Ghost. Yeah, but they're playing the Moda Center in February. The Moda Center holds like, I think, 15,000 people or something like that. Anyway, so yeah, so I think they're going to be like one of those kind of bands that's going to be one of those big touring bands that make a lot of money, but just not a lot of notoriety for some reason. When I just got this on Friday, the new Alice Cooper, Welcome to My Nightmare. Yeah, that's pretty cool, huh? The only downfall about this, and maybe the vinyl is different, but it doesn't have any booklet. The liner notes is very, not a whole lot to read there. So it's just, there is a cool video on YouTube, a full concert of this particular tour. I think it might be at a different location, but it's really, a pro shot concert. I was watching that. That's actually really cool. But so Welcome to My Nightmare tour just released on Friday. But yeah, I was expecting it to be more liner notes, at least a booklet. There's not even a booklet in here or nothing. Unless, like I said, unless the vinyl has it, which now I'm gonna have to like check and see, and then maybe buy that too. Woo! Well, Wasp. Got this on vinyl and cassette, but now I got it on a CD. So yeah. That's the thing too. I do a lot of impulse buying, so I'll just be like, "Oh, let me get that. It's only $10 or $15." But it's kind of cool because it's got that picture in it. It's got a cool booklet with a story. It talks about, I forgot the guy's name that tells the story. It tells a little story about Wasp and how they made an impact on LA and da 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 da. But it's really cool. So, which I want to get because I always think their first, obviously their single "Fuck Like a Beast" and Show No Mercy on, I don't know if you can get that on a CD, but I have the vinyl of that. But their first album, second album, and then obviously, what's the one? Electric Circus or whatever. Am I saying that right? Why am I going blank? Oh, the Headless Children. I want to get that on CD. So, and then and I have the Idol, Crimson Idol on CD, but But yeah, definitely got that. So, and I also got, like I said, second album on CD. That's really cool. So yeah, can't go wrong with Wasp, man. Their first two albums. Got some Dark Throne on CD. The Blaze in the Northern Sky. This is all stuff I bought within the last 2 weeks or so. Like I said, I went on a little bit of a binge. Queensryche's first album or EP, whatever. I have this on vinyl, but why not get it on CD? That way we can just play it all the way through. Plus, it comes with bonus tracks like live shows. And I've always wanted this on vinyl, but I got it on CD now, at least, because the vinyl is kind of pricey. But it's also got the bonus tracks and really cool. I think this is like my favorite Queensryche album next to Operation Mindcrime. So, I mean, nothing blows away. My Operation Mindcrime is like their tour de force. Nothing blows that album away, but this is definitely right there with it. Got to go with Bathory, man. I'm going to also get his I'm going to get his first 5 albums on CD. I got them all on cassette. I have a few on vinyl. I actually was in a little bit of a financial rut earlier in the year, and I had to sell a lot of my vinyls. So I sold the first 3 records to a friend. But yeah, I can always get those back. It's not like they're pricey or nothing. Get the reissues for a decent price. But yeah, Bathory. I mean, this album right here is like, it's one of the best of all time, I think, in my opinion. Came out in 1984, and the production on it is, obviously it sounds like it was recorded in a garage or something on a 4-track, but somehow he gets away with it sounding so raw and fierce and real and just intense to where, like, you put this on, you don't even realize you're listening to something that sounds like that, but he takes you into this world of where he's at in these songs. And I don't know, it's a perfect album for like on a winter night or on a winter morning or whatever, on the weekend. Just put the sucker on when it's rainy and foggy outside. It's like the best album for that. Picked up Alice Cooper's Trash. Haven't really fully listened to this album all the way through. I might check it out today. Obviously, I know like the hits on it, like Poison, I think, and Trash, I think was a hit. But I don't know. I was kind of skimming through some of the tracks on Apple, just kind of sampling each one for like a few seconds, and it's a cool sounding record. I mean, it's very 80s sounding, obviously, like late 80s. Alice Cooper's getting into that sort of that trend that was going on around the late 80s when a lot of rock bands are kind of more, kind of, I wouldn't say glam, but they were more like sort of like Guns N' Roses, like how Guns N' Roses looked, whatever. The look that Nirvana killed, pretty much. Megadeth, Peace Sells, can't go wrong. I got to get this on vinyl. I got it on vinyl. Thought I'd get it on CD just because it's really cool to have. It's got bonus tracks on it as well. And the new Alcatraz with Giles Lavery singing, Joe Stump on guitar, Jimmy Waldo, obviously keyboards. I'm not sure the other 2 guys if they're original members or not, but Giles Lavery does an excellent job on they re-recorded a lot of the songs from No Parole from Rock and Roll, and I think 1 song from the Steve Vai era. And then they got a couple originals on here. They're just so good. Gives you an idea of what they're going to sound like when they put out their next record with Giles as a vocalist, because he's hitting it all full throttle. It's a great album. This is going to probably be my top. I'm doing my end of the year top 20 albums of 2025, and this is definitely going in it. More Alice Cooper. I've been on an Alice Cooper kick too lately. Yeah, love it to death. Gotta love this album. A lot of people say that this is his first album, but technically he had 2 albums before it, but I guess they were kind of more like weird and I guess kind of done with Frank Zappa's label or something like that. So a lot of people kind of consider this the first Alice Cooper record. But yeah, it's definitely a good record. This is my favorite Alice Cooper record of all time. I could listen to this all day, anytime, anywhere, any day. Alice Cooper Killer comes with a cool story. That's what I like about these CDs too. Like there's a lot of these reissues that come with a lot of good liner notes to read, kind of talks about each song and where they were at when they were recording. I love stuff like that. I love, the making of things and like the process of writing the song and, where the people were at, where their headspace was at the time. Just that stuff fascinates me. It's almost like a little mini documentary. I love music documentaries as well. Because and I trip out when I talk to young people about bands or music, especially the ones who are into like not even into rock or whatever. Like I have, you know, like my coworker or whoever, you know, she's into like a lot of like just EDM and just pop and just whatever's on the billboards or whatever. But she finds it fascinating that I'm so into like the history of the music that I listen to, like when I talk about like the history of a band or what they went through or what they did. She's like finds that fascinating that I know all of that, you know, I go, yeah, I mean, I would think that, I don't know, doesn't people do that no more? Like, you know, you want to learn about the artist, you want to learn about their history, their life, what they're going through, like, or do you just put on the song and just let it play or whatever? I don't know. It's weird. I can't do that. Like, you know, I like when I like a band, I want to know about them. I want to know everything about them and, you know, how they formed and what they're going through and all that stuff. You know, and they put in the work, the blood, sweat, and the tears. Void. This is a great record. This is also going to be my top 20, probably in the top 10 of thrash metal, you know, of my records of 2025. But this is a great thrash metal record. These kids, man, they're from Lafayette, Louisiana, I believe. They always do that too when the singer is live. He's like, "We are Void from Lafayette, Louisiana." He always has to tell everyone where they're from, which is cool because they're very proud of where they're from. I want to try to get them on the show. I'm going to reach out to them soon and try to get an interview with these guys. They're up and coming. You know, this is like their second album, I think, maybe even their third, but this is their newest one. It's called Forbidden Morals. Get out there and get that. Support it. They sound like, I mean, these kids capture that classic Testament sound. Old Metallica. You know, Metallica during the Kill 'Em All era. Maybe even Ride the Lightning. But mostly like you know, in bands like Forbidden or bands like the Dark Angel. But in a lot of Testament, you can hear a lot of Testament in their sound. Early Testament, like the Testament's first album, Legacy, you can hear that influence in there. And I like their logo, how it's kind of colorful and But really good band. This band, keep an eye on them because I think they're going to be one of the top bands playing festivals and stuff next year. They're starting to make a lot of noise. They're kind of like one of those just young, new wave of traditional heavy metal, new wave of thrash metal. You know, there's a YouTube channel that has all those bands on it, and I've started following them on that and just watching them grow from there. So get out there and get Void, Forbidden Morals on CD. So CDs are cool, right? So let's see. I never finished like as to why CDs were seeing a decline. Oh, and because I guess because there's been an increase in streaming subscriptions. So it says CD sales in the U.S. plunged in the first half of 2025 as paid streaming subscriptions hit 105 million users. Huh. Come on, people, get out there and get CDs. You can stream anytime, man. I guess the beauty of a subscription, which I have, is that you can listen to any album anytime, anywhere. You know, just you put it in your library or whatever. But yeah. $3.2 billion for the record industry from. Oh, that's for subscriptions. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, just Google like why CD sales are down. Another CD I got, The Elder, Kiss. You're like, why'd you get that, man? You got it on vinyl. I don't know. Just like to have it. You know? Megadeth, Rest in Peace. I bought this the same time I bought the Peace Sales, and I never really thoroughly heard this album all the way through. Surprisingly, even though it's been out since, obviously, people consider this as Megadeth's greatest record. But I don't know, somehow I just never really listened to it over the years. You know, I've always known it was good, but it's just one of those albums that just never had, and only hear a couple songs here and there. It's a technical album. Marty Friedman on guitar. I believe it's his first album that he did with them. But I love it. I played it recently and it's like, wow, okay, what have I been missing? And Kiss. The 40th anniversary version comes with demos and outtakes, and then also like some live off the soundboard. Unfortunately, I had to sell my box set. I had the actual box set of this, that came out in 2022. The Creatures of Light big box set came with all of this and everything and even more. But like I said, that financial situation I was in a few months back, I had to sell some stuff, and so I sold the box set figure I can always get it again eventually some other day. But I'm glad I was able to at least get this because it does have. Because the one thing I loved about the box set was the live off the soundboard Creatures of the Night. So I'm glad it has that on there. So even though I got tons of Creatures of the Night off the soundboard because back when Sam Loomis was leaking all that Kiss stuff in 2022, part of it was all these different soundboard recordings from the Creatures of the Night tour. And I guess that was before the box set was even done, but they were actually they were using those, licensing off whoever had those to put on the box set, but they didn't put all of them. They only put like Sioux City and I think Detroit maybe or whatever. But I got all of them. I got all the different like Houston, Texas and all this stuff. So yeah. If you want any of that, let me know. I got a Google Drive. I got to be incognito with it. But yeah, so that's pretty much all the CDs I got recently. Like I said, I'm probably going to continue to keep buying CDs. Let me know what you think about CDs. Are they cool? Or are they out of style now? They've been out of style forever, right? Just kidding. But yeah. Thank you for joining me on this. You know, I had a guest schedule, but he had to reschedule, so we're still working on that. Next week, I do have Creatures. I'm going to be interviewing a band from Brazil. They're 80s sounding, very great band. Check their stuff out on Bandcamp. The band is called Creatures. Their album is called Creatures 2. It's like Roman numerals 2. Really good stuff. I mean, these cats know their 80s sounding metal. Almost reminds me of Lizzie Borden. And then I'm working on an interview with Suicide Queen, Gothic industrial band. They were on my show a couple years ago, and they got a new album out called Crowned in Blood, and it's actually really, really good. So we're going to talk to them, and then I'm going to reschedule my guest Andrew Scambati, the documentarian of that just did a documentary this year, really good, From Tokyo to You. It's a Kiss documentary based on when Kiss went over to Japan and played that concert, and it's a really good, well done documentary. It's my favorite one of the year so far. I do recommend checking out, not music related, but that Age of Disclosure. It's on Amazon. It's about the UAPs, the UFOs, and the stuff that the government is hiding from us and everything. It's really compelling, especially with that 3-1 Atlas coming our way, like, or that 3I Atlas or whatever it is that's coming our way, and the way the stuff it's doing in space. It's really got astronomers and NASA and everybody tripping out. So yeah, some crazy stuff out there. What shows are you watching on TV? Right now I'm watching The Mayor of Kingstown, man. I think that's the best show to come out since Breaking Bad and Snowfall. I mean, it's with Jeremy Renner. I know he got in a little bit of trouble recently. I'm not sure what that's about, but that doesn't take away from the fact that he's actually really good in this TV series. I know you be the judge if whatever you feel he did, or like I said, I like to wait and see all the facts and everything, and and everything is something to do with him harassing one of his I think the director of some film or something like that. She's claiming he harassed her. He's claiming she harassed him, and and yeah, but but again, I'm going to separate that from his actual performance. I think he's really good in this Mayor of Kingstown. It's about like this prison, this town is ran by the prison basically, and he's kind of oversees everything, the cops, the criminals, and it's just like he's got his hands in everything, and it's very violent, very brutal. Anytime you put the cartel in there, it's going to make it interesting. Another good show is Landman. That's a good one. All Her Fault. That's about this missing kid. That's a good one. So yeah, I just finished that Murdoch Family. That's actually really good. The Death in the Family. Yeah, man. If you ever think that your life is kind of like or that you got bad luck or whatever, think about that dude, man. His whole fuck, man. It's like people dying and shit, and then he obviously, I guess he got proven guilty that he killed his wife and son, which is fucked up. But you almost believe that he didn't know, just based on when you watch it, you're thinking like, how did he do that? There's no way he could have done that. But anyway. Yeah, that family was definitely cursed. If you think you got it bad, think about that family, and you'd be like, "Oh, I guess it ain't so bad after all." But on that note, be kind to each other, be kind to everyone. Don't kill your family. And yeah, and just stay safe out there. Like I said, we got the crazy stuff going on in the world. Hopefully, 3I Atlas isn't like some alien attack, and if it is, hopefully they attack all the people that isn't me or you, that's doing good stuff in the world. And they could just tack all of the crazy shit, All right. So horns up and peace out. Yeah. Hey, where's that button at?